wanna let you know the way you move your body, guess see I'm next in line.
I'm from London, England, and I've been in Japan for 2 years and 4 months.
Okay, that's cool. So what brought you to Japan?
Well, a lot of things, I guess. So first of all, the UK, the economic climate in the UK wasn't very good. And when I left university, it was already getting worse. Also, I wanted to travel. So I went to China first, actually. And I lived in China for 3 years. And I loved China, but I felt like I needed a new challenge. Because I thought otherwise I'll just live in China my whole life and I'll never have done anything else. So I started applying for jobs in other places, and actually I wanted to go to Egypt. But then there were all those troubles in Egypt. So I talked to a recruiter and she suggested Japan. And my dad actually really is into Japanese culture. He teaches Japanese sociology at university. And he'd been to Japan and he said he thought I would really like it. And so I talked to this recruiter, she interviewed me for this job. I got the job straight away and I really liked her. So I thought, why not? I'll try. So I don't think I chose Japan, I think Japan chose me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. What do you do for a living?
I'm an English teacher. I'm an English teacher in an eikaiwa called the Shane Eikaiwa. Free advertising.
Yeah. So, what are your views on Japanese culture?
I think Japanese culture is quite a lot like British culture, because both cultures are very polite and we like eating and we like drinking, right? But I think Japanese culture is more polite than British culture, maybe too polite sometimes. And I think Japanese people like drinking more than British people, maybe too much, right? On a Friday night around Ikebukuro at 9 o'clock you can see people on the street, so that's a bit different. But I think, yeah, they're quite similar.
I didn't know that. What's your favorite Japanese food?
My favorite Japanese food is okonomiyaki. And I don't know why, every time I tell my students that they laugh, but why is that funny? I don't understand. Anyway, I love okonomiyaki.
Okay. I love okonomiyaki too.
Yeah, right? It's a good food.
Yeah. Funniest experience in Japan?
Funniest experience in Japan. I think maybe in teaching I've had some funny experiences. So for example, I was teaching a class about adjectives, so describe people. And you know, Japanese people often confuse f and h. Those two sounds in Japanese are quite similar. So I asked this old man, can you please describe your wife? He said, she's very kind and warm-hearted. And I was just like, oh no, I couldn't tell him. I couldn't explain what that meant, but I had to try really hard not to laugh. Another time I was working with kids, and again, adjectives, and I drew some small cats on the board and pencils, balls, and they are small cats. And the next one, the whole class went, they are big balls. I was just like, move on. They are, yeah, that's funny. Apart from teaching, during New Year, my boyfriend came to visit me in Japan, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to book something romantic for New Year's Eve. So I booked this guest house just outside of Hiroshima. We had a nice day in Hiroshima, then we went to the guest house. And this guest house was really nice, but it was like quite an old style house. So our room and the room next door to ours had doors up to here, and the top was just carved paneling. So there was nothing between us and the next door. So that was less romantic than I expected. Then in the morning, at about 7 a.m., we were woken up by this old lady in the next room shouting down her phone, "Happy New Year!" I said Happy New Year in Japanese. Yeah, that wasn't what I had expected or planned.
It all went wrong.
Yeah, it all went wrong. Later though, at about lunchtime, she came and knocked on our door. We spent like 4 hours being like, why won't she be quiet? And then at lunchtime, she knocked on our door and invited us to have lunch with them. Then we felt really bad. Like, oh, actually, she's nice.
But they're so polite. So, craziest and worst experience in Japan?
I think, okay, my craziest experience, this might not sound crazy, especially to Japanese people, but I'm from London, so to me this is crazy. Again, in Hiroshima, I got that travel pass for the trams, and using that pass you can take a tram anywhere that day. And we went to, and you can take the boat to Miyajima as well. So we went to Miyajima Shrine, and I had a really good day. We were walking around, eating loads of snacks, and taking loads of photos. Then, when it came to time to go back, I realized I'd lost my pass. And we'd been all around the island, right? And I was like, where could it be? So I was looking for it. We were retracing our steps. We asked some stall owners that we'd bought food off, have you seen this pass? And it was nowhere. Then we went back to the boat and I thought, I just have to buy a ticket then, another ticket, right? But before I did that, I asked in the office, has this pass been handed in? And it had been handed in. In London, that would never happen. If you lose something and someone finds it, that's theirs. Finders keepers, right? So I was like, wow, that was crazy for me. I kept it as well because it says the first of the first, so I thought, that's good luck, right? That means this is going to be a good year, I think. That's a good start. The worst thing that's happened, I think, was when it was maybe 2 summers ago, and you know summer in Japan is so hot, so hot. And I was on a really crowded train during rush hour. And it was really, really crowded, and I started, okay, I'll be honest, I had a couple of margaritas the day before, so I wasn't feeling great. And I get a bit travel sick. And so we're on this really hot, crowded train, there are people everywhere, and I started feeling like a little bit sick. And it was an express train, and I thought, okay, just wait, like maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we're gonna get to the next stop. And somewhere in between those 2 stops, the train stopped. And there was a delay, I'm not kidding, of hours. I was on that train for hours just sweating, margarita, and like feeling really sick. And eventually we got to Ikebukuro, and I ran off the train and found the toilet and just was like very sick.
Shit. Ikebukuro is gonna be like paradise.
Yeah, I was just pushing past people, like, get out of my way. That was terrible.
Wow. So, final question. Can you speak Japanese? And if you can, say some, make some sentence in Japanese.
I can't really speak Japanese for as long as I've been here. I should be able to speak better Japanese, but I can say something. Shall I introduce myself?
Yeah.
Okay. Konnichiwa, watashi wa Shan desu. Watashi wa eigo no kyoshi desu. Watashi wa okonomiyaki daisuki desu.
Oh, that's a good one. I think all Japanese can understand that. Like, this is out of the question. Like, have any Japanese guy ever tried to talk to you or try to, flirt on you? Or
Like nampa?
Nampa.
One time, this isn't going to be on TV, right? One time I went to that Jamaican festival in Harajuku, right, in Yoyogi Park, and I was drinking rum, and it was hot because it's summer, so I was drinking in the sun, and I was a bit drunk. Then after that, I had dinner with some ex-students, and we carried on drinking, and I was drinking gin and tonic. And because it was so sunny all day and I was hot and I was drunk, again, I wasn't feeling good when I was walking home. And I was like walking home like, oh, this was such a bad idea. And I was almost home, just outside my door, and this guy on a bicycle came up to me and started talking to me, like asking me directions. So I was telling him, oh yeah, the station's that way, blah, blah, blah. And then he kept asking me, oh, so what do you do, and where are you from, and blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly he was like, do you have Facebook? And I realized, oh, oh, he's chatting me up, I understand now. Yeah, but it was a bit weird, so I never contacted him.
Yeah, most Japanese names sometimes they're like a little bit surprising.
Yeah.
They get you out of.
ちょっと待ってね。